Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Teena Jha with the news, your one stop for all that's happened across India and the world through the day today. As always, let's begin with the top stories of the day. Prime Minister Modi underscores the stabilizing role of Indian civilization and culture, unveils 108 feet high statue of Lord Hanuman in Morbi, Gujarat, seeks the cooperation of the Sant Samaj to make Vocal for Local campaign a success. Union Health Minister launches e-Sanjeevani Tele-Consultation facility at 1 lakh health and wellness centres. Ayushman Bharat scheme completes 4 years. Need for joint effort at global level for environmental protection, says Speaker of Lok Sabha Om Birla at the National Environment Youth Parliament. Calls on youth to fulfill their responsibility towards climate protection. Chief Minister N. Biren Singh inducts 6 new cabinet ministers in Manipur. And Moscow launches fresh missile strikes on Ukraine. Meanwhile, President Zelensky appeals for global ban on Russian oil and gas. A quick look at what else made news through the day today in Flash News. Karnataka Rural Development and Panchayat Raj Minister K.S. Ishwarappa resigns. Punjab Chief Minister Maan announces 300 units of free electricity in the state starting the 1st of July. Niti Aayog to launch National Data and Analytics Platform to provide government data in user-friendly format in May. Congress wins Khairagarh Assembly by-poll in Chhattisgarh. Delhi Police initiates probe into alleged impersonation of official posted at PMO. Nominations for Panchayat elections in Jharkhand begin. AIMS super specialist doctors to participate in 6-day medical camp starting 24th April in Leh. Tropical storm Maggie claims 130 lives in the Philippines amid landslides and floods. US President Joe Biden nominates Indian-American diplomat Rachna Sachdeva as his envoy for Mali. And Santosh Trophy kicks off at Malappuram in Kerala. West Bengal beats Punjab in the opening match. The top story of the day today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled a 108-feet statue of Lord Hanuman in Morbi, Gujarat via video conferencing on the occasion of Hanuman Jayanti. Greeting devotees on the occasion, the Prime Minister said, the dedication of the statue of Lord Hanuman in Morbi is a happy occasion for devotees across the world. The Prime Minister also said the project to erect 4 such statues in all the 4 corners of the country is a reflection of the resolve of Ek Bharat, Shreshtha Bharat. He also explained that Lord Hanuman unites everyone with his service spirit and everyone gets inspiration from him.
गुलामी के मुश्किल कालखंड में भी अलग अलग हिस्सों को, अलग अलग वर्गों को जोड़ा, आजादी के राष्ट्रीय संकल्प के लिए एकजुट प्रयासों को सशक्त किया। हजारों वर्षों से बदलती स्थितियों के बावजूद भारत के अड़िग अटल रहने में हमारी सभ्यता, हमारी संस्कृति की बड़ी भूमिका रही है।
Union Health Minister Dr. Mansoor Mandaviya on Saturday virtually launched e-Sanjeevani Tele-Consultation facility at 1 lakh centres on the 4th anniversary of Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centres. In his remarks on the occasion, Dr. Mandaviya said that in the coming days, the health and wellness centres will bring a revolution in the health sector. He also said over 1,17,000 health and wellness centres have been operationalized in the country so far. Besides, he added that e-Sanjeevani will provide affordable and accessible healthcare as envisioned by Prime Minister Modi.
डिस्ट्रिक्ट प्लेस पर या तो स्टेट के कोई हेडक्वार्टर्स पर ट्रीटमेंट के लिए जाना ये बहुत मुश्किल होता है। ऐसी स्थिति में प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर को स्पोक के रूप में और डिस्ट्रिक्ट हॉस्पिटल को हब के रूप में विकसित करने के लिए जो इनिशिएटिव लिया है, मुझे लगता है कि आने वाले दिनों में एक बहुत बड़ा रिवॉल्यूशन लाएंगे हेल्थ केयर सेक्टर में।
In some other news, Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh expanded his Council of Ministers. He inducted 6 cabinet ministers, including former Minister Letpao Haokip, 4 BJP MLAs and 1 MLA from Naga People's Front, that is the NPF. The 4 BJP MLAs include L. Sushildro, Dr. S. Ranjan, T.H. Basanta and H. Dingo. Coalition partner NPF now has 2 birds with the induction of Qasim Bashum. The swearing-in ceremony was attended by the Chief Minister, his cabinet colleagues and other party leaders as well. And with this, the N. Biren Singh government has reached its full strength of 12 ministers. In some other national news, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and his wife Usha Naidu performed puja at the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Varanasi. They also paid floral tributes to the statue of Mother India and prayed for the peace and prosperity of the country. The Vice President offered prayers at the Kal Bhairav temple as well. He was impressed by the Kashi Vishwanath Dham corridor, which he described as unimaginable. A memento of Kashi Vishwanath temple was presented to the Vice President. Meanwhile, the daily tally of COVID cases touched 975 on Saturday. The number of patients being treated has now gone up to 11,366. The number of patients under treatment is only 0.03% of the total cases, while the national rate of those free from infection is 98.76%. Mazagaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited is gearing up to launch the 6th and the last submarine, Vakshir, under the P-75 Scorpion project on 20th of April. Efforts are on to launch 3 platforms, a submarine, 15 Bravo destroyers and 1 stealth frigate in April and May this year. Aviation turbine fuel prices have gone up by 0.2% amid the continuing rise in international oil prices. This was the 8th hike in ATF prices this year. According to the notification issued by public oil companies, the price of ATF has been increased by 277.5 rupees per kiloliter. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla underscored the need to protect the environment in order to safeguard the shared future of humanity and also build a better world. The Lok Sabha Speaker was addressing the National Environment Youth Parliament in the Parliament complex. He said climate protection is an intrinsic part of the Indian way of life. He also stressed on the need for collective action on climate protection. Laying stress on climate justice, the Speaker said developed countries should do their bit for climate protection. Listen in.
आज आवश्यकता इसी बात की है कि पर्यावरण को संरक्षण रखने के लिए दुनिया को एक साझे प्रयास करने की आवश्यकता है। हमने इसको लक्ष्य बनाकर हमारा विकास भी न रुके और एक सस्टेनेबल रूप से हम पूरी दुनिया को एक नई दिशा दे सकें।
Speaking on the role of youth in climate protection, the Speaker said the youth have always played a decisive role in bringing about social, economic and political change in the country. He added the youth should understand their responsibilities and partner the government on environmental initiatives.
आज समय यही आ गया है कि हम किस तरीके से ये आजादी की लड़ाई का संकल्प की तरह हमारा पर्यावरण और प्राकृतिक संसाधनों को सुरक्षित रखने के लिए एक लंबी लड़ाई लड़ने की आवश्यकता देश के नौजवानों की है।
In the other big news of the day today, ruling parties dominated the by-election results for 4 Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha seats in 4 states that went to polls recently. Trinamool candidate and former Union Minister Shatrughan Sinha won the by-election for Asansol Lok Sabha seat in West Bengal. TMC leader Babul Supriyo also won from the Baliganj assembly seat in the state. In Bihar's Bochaha assembly seat, RJD candidate Amar Kumar Paswan defeated BJP's Devi Kumari by 36,618 votes. Congress candidate Jayashree Yadav, a part of the ruling Mahavikas Aghadi in Maharashtra, won the Kolhapur by-election. In the elections to the Chhattisgarh Khairagarh Assembly seat, Congress candidate Yashoda Verma won by defeating BJP's Komal Janghel. Senior Congress leaders met at the residence of interim party president Sonia Gandhi. Issues discussed at the meeting included election preparations and also party membership campaign. Election strategist Prashant Kishore reportedly presented a draft strategy for the next Lok Sabha elections that will be considered by a group of Congress leaders. They will submit their report on it within a week. Former Congress President Rahul Gandhi, General Secretary K.C. Venugopal, senior leaders Ambika Soni, Mallikarjun Kharge and several others were present at the meeting.
Prashant Kishore had given a detailed presentation on 2024 election strategy to the Congress President and some of her senior colleagues. The plan presented by Prashant Kishore will be looked after by a small group set up by Congress Presidents. That group will give reports to the Congress President within a week time for a final decision.
Hanuman Jayanti was celebrated across the country on Saturday. Hanuman Chalisa recitation and special pujas were held in Hanuman temples across the country as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted people on the occasion, describing Lord Hanuman as a symbol of strength, courage and restraint. The Prime Minister prayed that everyone's life be full of strength, wisdom and knowledge with the blessings of Lord Hanuman. And with that, time for a short break here, but coming up on the other side, New York Auto Show unveils the road to zero emissions travel. We'll come back after this quick break. Do stay with us.
Mental health disorders are very common in our population and have been aggravated by COVID.
What is more important is to identify the mental health issues, don't neglect it, and don't attach the stigma.
Mental health is as important as your physical health.
To know all about COVID and mental health, join me on Healthy India, only on Sansad TV.
In this episode, we are going to look at a very important direct intervention that the government of India is doing at the very bottom of the economic pyramid, which is to provide tap water to all the villages in India.
कि आज अगर मैं 25 दिसंबर 2019 से देखूं, हम लगभग इस 27 महीने के कालखंड में हमने 6 करोड़ 11 लाख लोगों को पीने का पानी पहुंचाने में सफलता प्राप्त की है। जो कवरेज 16-17% के बीच में था, वो आज 48% से ज़्यादा हो गया है। हम आधी आबादी को जो है सस्टेनेबल तरीके से पीने का पानी मुहैया करा सकें, उस लक्ष्य तक, उस मुकाम तक पहुंच पाए हैं।
वाइब्रेंट भारत में इस बार देखिए दिल्ली से संगीत और कला के रंग। ताज नगरी का एक खास महोत्सव। असम से पारंपरिक नए साल का जश्न। रविवार रात 9:30 बजे सिर्फ संसद टीवी पर।
Thanks for staying with us on the news. Let's now get you all the latest updates from the war front in Ukraine. Russia's warplanes bombed Lviv and its missiles struck Kiev after the sinking of its Black Sea Fleet flagship. The attack destroyed production buildings of an armored vehicle plant in Kiev. Russia's defense ministry said they used high-precision, long-range weapons to hit facilities at an armaments plant. Ukraine's military said Russian warplanes that took off from Belarus also fired missiles at the Lviv region near the Polish border. Russia, meanwhile, has once again warned the United States of unpredictable consequences if the West continues militarization of Ukraine. Moscow also banned the entry of Prime Minister Boris Johnson and several other UK officials. The move comes a day after imposed sanctions on Russia over its military operation in Ukraine. UK's defense ministry says deliberate destruction of Ukrainian road infrastructure by retreating Russian forces is hampering the provision of humanitarian aid to formerly occupied areas. Only one pedestrian bridge across the Desna River is left standing in Chernihiv, which had some 285,000 residents before the war began. Amidst the ongoing war, Germany has asserted that the delivery of heavier weaponry to Ukraine, like tanks, will not constitute an entry into the war against Russia. It said that if Ukraine exercises its legitimate right of self-defense, supporting it by supplying weapons cannot lead to becoming a party to the war. Ukraine said 9 humanitarian corridors have been agreed for Saturday to evacuate civilians, including from the besieged city of Mariupol by private cars. 5 corridors are from Ukraine's Luhansk region in the east of the country, which local officials have said is under heavy shelling. Moving on to news now from other parts of the world. Nepal is running low on foreign currency reserves. A central bank official said that if things do not improve in the next 7 months, they will not have the money needed to import medicines, oil products, cars, and a range of other items if things stay in a similar situation. Here's a report. Nepal's central bank has increased interest rates, hoping it will discourage people from buying imports and also help extend the foreign reserves. But according to the spokesperson of the Nepal Rashtriya Bank, there are some positive signs for the economy with the slowing down of the COVID pandemic.
We have the foreign exchange reserve adequate for the import of almost around 7 months. Compared to the previous level, it has come down, but we can manage it because number of migrant workers, they have been going abroad, that is being increased.
Tourist arrivals are increasing in Nepal. More Nepalese are going abroad to earn foreign currency and send it back home. Nepal depends mainly on tourism, remittances from overseas workers and foreign aid for its foreign currency. Hundreds of thousands of foreign tourists visit Nepal every year, but their numbers fell sharply due to restrictions imposed during the COVID pandemic. Nepal has few exports and imports almost everything. Motor vehicles and oil products account for 1/4 of the imports. Bureau Report, Sansad TV. And continuing with some other global updates in this quick world wrap. The Colombo Stock Exchange will be shut next week as Sri Lanka struggles to combat its forex crisis. The closure is an attempt to help investors gain more clarity of the current economic conditions to make informed investment decisions. Sri Lanka is facing its worst economic crisis since gaining independence in 1948. The economic crisis has triggered nationwide street protests against President Gotabaya Rajapaksa over lengthy power cuts and shortage of fuel, food and other daily essential items. Deputy Speaker of the Pakistan National Assembly, Qasim Khan Suri, resigned ahead of the vote on a no-confidence motion against him. Qasim Khan Suri is a member of former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party. Ruckus erupted in Pakistan's assembly on Saturday when lawmakers from the ruling Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf manhandled Deputy Speaker Dost Mohammad Mazari. Lawmakers from the Imran Khan's party attacked Mazari for changing his loyalty. Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong has confirmed that Finance Minister Lawrence Wong will succeed him as the city-state's next leader. Wong had been chosen as leader of the ruling People's Action Party, paving the way for him to potentially become the city-state's next Prime Minister. China's financial center Shanghai reported a new record number of symptomatic COVID-19 cases on Saturday as the country imposed new lockdowns. The Zhengzhou Airport Economic Zone, an industrial area in the central province of Henan that houses manufacturing facilities of companies including Apple Inc., supplier Foxconn, announced a 14-day lockdown on Friday to be adjusted according to the epidemic situation. Hundreds protested in Jordan's capital Amman on Friday to show solidarity with Palestinians in Jerusalem after the most serious violence in nearly a year at the flashpoint Al-Aqsa Mosque. Protesters chanted anti-Israel slogans and condemned Arab leaders' measures to normalize relations with Israel. They also chanted pro-Hamas slogans and called upon the Jordanian government to annul its peace treaty with Israel and to end all relations with the country. Meanwhile, 3 Chinese astronauts returned back to Earth on Saturday after 6 months aboard their country's newest orbital station in the longest crewed mission to date for China's ambitious space program. Here's more. The Shenzhou 13 space capsule landed in the Gobi Desert in North Mongolia. It brought back 3 Chinese astronauts who spent 183 days in space. They completed the 5th of the 11 missions that China has planned to complete its space station by the end of the year. The mission saw astronaut Wang Yaping carry out the first spacewalk by a Chinese woman. With her crewmates Zai Zigang and Ge Guangfu, she also beamed back physics lessons for high school students. On Saturday, their return capsule traveled 200 meters per second over Africa before entering the atmosphere. The 3 astronauts are the second crew to work on Tiangong, or Heavenly Palace, as the space station has been named. The core module, Tianhe, was launched in April 2021. China is excluded from the International Space Station. It launched its first astronaut into space in 2003 and landed robot rovers on the Moon in 2013 and on Mars last year. China is the 3rd country to launch an astronaut into space after the former Soviet Union and the United States. Tiangong is China's 3rd space station. The first 2 were launched in 2011 and 2016. The government announced in 2020 that China's first reusable spacecraft landed after a test flight, but no photos or details of the vehicle were released. Bureau Report, Sansad TV. Electric vehicles are the flavor of the season. With promises of negligible or zero emissions, companies are showcasing their advantages at the popular New York International Auto Show. So let's take you there. The New York International Auto Show is back. It was cancelled in 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID pandemic. Automakers are now queuing up to promote electric vehicles with announcements that they plan to sell nothing but zero-emission vehicles in the next decade or so. At present, 38 fully electric models are on sale in the United States. More than 120 are expected by 2025. Automakers sold nearly 4.6 million electric vehicles worldwide last year. The industry expects that EV sales will rise to nearly 7 million this year and to more than 15 million by 2025. That will be only about 15% of global vehicle sales. In America, just over 4 lakh EVs were sold last year. One of the cars on display at the auto show is the Chevrolet 2024 Silverado EV full-size pickup truck that can drive 400 miles on a single charge. It starts at $39,900. Also showing at the auto show is the company Gravity that operates 2 all-electric taxi cabs in New York City, a Tesla Model Y and a Ford Mustang Mach-E. The company unveiled a charging station that it says can fit into most small parking spaces in New York City. Bureau Report, Sansad TV. From the future, let's take you a little back to the past. 110 years ago, an estimated 1,500 people died in the sinking of the biggest marine disasters of the world. To this day, the sinking of Titanic continues to fascinate generations of enthusiasts, conspiracy theorists, and also maritime explorers.
April 15th, 2022 marks 110 years since the sinking of the Titanic. It was the pride of the White Star Line of ships, the largest, most luxurious ocean liner of its day. In April 1912, the Titanic left Southampton, England for New York on its maiden voyage. Described as practically unsinkable, Titanic struck an iceberg on April 14th. It sank early the next morning. More than 1,500 passengers and crew members died. The ship was built in Belfast that spent decades scarred by its link to the disaster. Since then, the city has regained its place in the field of shipbuilding, engineering and industry. 100 years after the disaster, Belfast had the opening of the new museum, Titanic, in 2012 at the site of the shipyard where the doomed vessel was built. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And time now for all the sporting action. Well, nothing seems to be going right for five-time IPL champion Mumbai Indians this season. They've lost their sixth consecutive match of IPL this year. Today, Rohit Sharma's men were beaten by Lokesh Rahul's Lucknow Super Giants by 18 runs. While Rohit himself, along with his team, is struggling for form, Lucknow skipper Rahul hit a century, remaining not out on 103 off 60 balls, containing 9 fours and 5 sixes. Lucknow posted 199 for the loss of 4 wickets. Chasing a target of 200, Mumbai Indians could reach only 181 for 9, with none of their batsmen reaching a score of 40. Lucknow Super Giants pacer Avesh Khan took 3 for 30. In IPL 15's match played on Friday, Sunrisers Hyderabad won by 7 wickets with 13 balls remaining. Kolkata Knight Riders were the team at the receiving end. KKR set Sunrisers Hyderabad a target of 176. Umran Malik, the J&K speedster who bowls 150 kilometers thunderbolts regularly, took 2 wickets, including that of KKR skipper Shreyas Iyer, to restrict the Knight Riders. Rahul Tripathi then, with a blazing 71 and Eden Markram with 68 not out, took their team to a comfortable victory, their third consecutive win after 2 losses to start the season. Cricketer turned politician Harbhajan Singh has said he will contribute his Rajya Sabha salary for the education and welfare of the daughters of farmers. Harbhajan, one of India's best spinners, was last month elected unopposed as Rajya Sabha member from Punjab. Harbhajan has been associated with various philanthropic activities throughout his playing days. The 41-year-old retired from all forms of cricket in December last year. In football, the top 2 in English Premier League standings, Manchester City and Liverpool, are on the field fighting each other as we speak, this time in the FA Cup semi-final clash at Wembley. Both the teams are looking to take one step closer to history as the Reds attempt to win an unprecedented quadruple, while Pep Guardiola's City could pick up 3 trophies between now and the end of the season. Liverpool were leading City 3-0 at half-time. Moving to tennis, Spain's Alejandro Davidovich Fokina has made it to the finals of the Monte Carlo Masters. In the semi-final, Davidovich defeated Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitrov in 3 sets, 6-4, 6-7, 6-3. And before we wrap up the bulletin, a quick relook at the headlines. Prime Minister Modi underscores the stabilizing role of Indian civilization and culture. Unveils 108 feet high statue of Lord Hanuman in Morbi, Gujarat. Seeks the cooperation of the Sant Samaj to make Vocal for Local campaign a success. Union Health Minister launches e-Sanjeevani Tele-Consultation facility at 1 lakh health and wellness centres. Ayushman Bharat scheme completes 4 years. Need for joint effort at global level for environmental protection, says Speaker of Lok Sabha Om Birla at the National Environment Youth Parliament. Calls on youth to fulfill their responsibility towards climate protection. Chief Minister N. Biren Singh inducts 6 new cabinet ministers in Manipur. And Moscow launches fresh missile strikes on Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky appeals for global ban on Russian oil and gas. So that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you for your time. But before we wrap up the bulletin, a quick gentle reminder to all our viewers, the cases of COVID are once again on the rise. So stay safe, be masked up, take care of your families. See you again next week. Good night.